Hello everyone, Silent here. Welcome back to another video and happy holidays. I hope you're all having a great holiday season. Today I have a little bit of a gift from me to all of you, and that is the first ever beacon factory on the Bedrock edition of Minecraft. This thing is slightly massive, a little bit expensive, and completely overpowered and just completely insane. Using this farm, you can get up to 33 wither skulls per minute. Yes, over half a stack of wither skulls per minute. This is more powerful than any server could ever need. And that is enough wither skulls per minute to get you 11 beacons a minute, or 1,980 skulls an hour, or 660 beacons an hour. The main problem with this farm is the sheer amount of soul sand and obsidian and glass that you will actually need to craft all of those beacons once you have the nether stars. It's really just quite very ridiculous. However, I would highly suggest building this like immediately. If you're watching this video, you need to start building this farm right now because it uses a fair few bugs to actually function. So you probably have one pretty big question, and that is, how in the world are we getting wither skeleton skulls from strays, and how is this an actual beacon factory? Because it looks a whole lot like a really good stray factory. I mean, come on now. Well, like I said, there's currently some bugs in the Bedrock edition that allow us to, you know, kind of manipulate the game a little bit. And as you can see, this farm is extremely efficient. I don't know how long I've been standing around, but it has not been that long, and we have just far too many strays. Let's get out of there. It's a little bit noisy and laggy. So we are going to be blowing up all of these strays with a charge creeper, which are not hard to get now that we have channeling tridents in the game, of course. So those guys are super easy to get. We're then going to be, yeah, more or less just blowing them up. One thing you can do with this farm to actually get yourself a ton of experience is go ahead and throw a damage potion so that it heals them a little bit so that you don't accidentally kill any, and then throw a healing potion so that you damage them, and then we're going to go ahead and light up that charge creeper, and that will kill everyone in one fell swoop. We'll get an absolute load of experience because we throw through that healing potion, and as you can see from this, we just get so many wither skulls. I mean, this might look like I'm hacking or cheating or using commands, but no, this is actual, real, legit vanilla survival. Like, this is something that you can do in your world. It is amazing. We just got like over 7 stacks of wither skeleton skulls, and that is because right now there is a bug where these guys, when blown up by a charge creeper, will actually drop a wither skeleton skull. It's really stupid. They should drop a skeleton skull, I'm pretty sure, but there's probably just a little value in the code that got switched, and instead they drop wither skulls, so we can make an extremely good wither skeleton farm. Now there's one more thing that you probably noticed, and that is that we're only using one charge creeper to get all of these strays to drop a skull, and that is another thing that I would consider a bug, because typically charge creepers should only be able to give you 1 skull per explosion, but as you can see, there's literally no limit to the amount of skulls that you can get per charge creeper. So if you only have 1 charge creeper, you can get like 1,000 strays in here and get 1,000 wither skeleton skulls from that 1 charge creeper. That's why I'm saying charge creepers are not a problem to get, especially with the channeling trident. There's just one more bug that really makes the efficiency of this farm skyrocket, and that is that the only hostile mobs that ever spawn in cold biomes are strays. As you can see, there are no other hostile mobs spawning in here. No creepers, no spiders, no zombies, only strays, which is really strange, but is extremely helpful for this farm. I mean, we could not ask for a better update to make this farm, and like seriously, everything is just perfectly broken right now for this farm to be amazing. I don't think there could be any more bugs that would make this farm any more efficient. Now, all of that being said, because this farm is based on so many bugs, definitely check the pinned comment down below before you ever consider building this, because I will tell you as soon as this farm is broken, or as soon as they fix some of the bugs that make this farm super efficient. So again, just check the pinned comment down below. That's where I always let you guys know what is broken, what needs to be changed, because Bedrock is ever broken, ever breaking, and ever changing. And So let's actually go ahead and take a look at how this beacon factory works, and it's actually really simple, but I'm going to be going into details on everything that you see before you here. So the main thing that we got going on is a 71 by 71 area centered on this block right here, and this is more or less the maximum size that you can make this farm. So if we go over here, sometimes your corner flying machine over on that side will break, so if you expanded this any further, your flying machines would actually stop working. And speaking of the flying machines, we have 10 flying machines, 5 on each side, and these things basically just fly back and forth, knocking all of these strays into these little water trenches. Now, these water trenches just go straight into nether portals, as you can see there, and that gets these strays out of the mob cap pretty much immediately, allowing even more strays to spawn. So when you're AFKing at the proper spot in this farm, which is right up there, you'll get about 28 or so strays going to the nether per minute, which is pretty much how we're getting so many skulls. And a large part of that efficiency is these blue ice spawning platforms and these trapdoors as well. So when these strays get, touched by these flying machines, they'll actually go flying pretty far, and they have a really high chance of actually landing in these water streams and then getting taken out of the mob cap. And because our flying machines are so slow, it's just kind of how Bedrock Edition is. The trapdoors on the edges also just allow them to walk into the water trenches on their own accord without the flying machines, having to nudge them or anything. So that helps our efficiency as well. One more thing that really helps the efficiency of this farm is, of course, our perimeter. Now, I am using a little bit of an artificial perimeter using some commands, but you in survival will, of course, need to light up or otherwise spawn-proof the entire surface area for about 70 or so blocks outwards from all of your walls, and you'll also want to do a bunch of caving as well to get the optimal efficiency. And honestly, that is pretty standard, but I do have a couple commands down here, mostly because I am a mega derp and pretty lazy. So we have 3 commands here. 1 to kill all the polar bears, because the polar bears are annoying and they spawn in any light level, and they mostly cause all that spam of sea lanterns. Now, what we're doing after that is we're targeting every single mob in the world and not inside of this farm, and just replacing them with a sea lantern. And after we replace that sea lantern, we are then killing that mob that is not inside this farm. So these commands only affect things that are not inside this farm, which is optimal. And just to kind of demonstrate this real quick, we can go over here, plant down a stray, and as you can see, it gets replaced with a sea lantern. The idea behind this was to slowly but surely light up the entire surface, but as you can see, it got a little bit out of hand in some areas, but it does look kind of beautiful. Just kind of thought I'd mention it because it's really weird and strange looking and totally unnecessary, but it's just kind of a, side effect of polar bears spawning in high light levels. Our nether setup is also a little bit unique because we're doing a couple things with our strays. So our nether portal is just up here. I've tried a couple things to nudge them out of the nether portal, but eventually they'll fall out, so there's no real need to worry about them too much up there. We do have some trapdoors on the edges here to help them kind of walk out of there, but overall, sometimes they just kind of take a minute to get out of the portal. But besides that, as you saw there, we have some actual slime blocks on the bottom down here, and that is because sometimes these guys get a lot of suffocation damage from your flying machines. So just by having a couple slime blocks at the bottom, you actually make sure that none of them die from fall damage, further increasing your rates and further increasing the amount of skulls that you get. Now, underneath these slime blocks, because of course these get blown away from your, charged creeper, we have some walls, and that mostly just prevents your strays from escaping here. So because this farm is actually so simple, I'm not going to be doing a full block by block tutorial of it. That would be extremely long and pretty boring as well. But I will be supplying a world download and doing a general tutorial for this farm, so you can look out for that in this video. So down in the description, you can find a full world download of this farm and in the nether as well. And real quick, sorry about the file size of that download. It's somewhere around 70 megabytes. But keep in mind, before I trimmed it, it was like 1.5 gigabytes, so you're welcome. The only snowy biome that I could find and that I knew of was on a backup of the realm. So yeah, that's why you'll find some random bases here and there, and that's why the download is so large. Alright, so let's go ahead and hop into the general tutorial, shall we? So please do keep in mind that every part of your farm needs to be built in a cold biome, and also do keep in mind that you're going to be flattening a large area, so maybe choose some area that's already pretty flat to build your farm. And from there, just find where you want to have your center point. It doesn't really matter where you decide to put your center, but you want to go out 35 blocks on the diagonals from your center. So just 35 out that way and 35 out this way as well. I've already marked this out with the gold marker blocks, and the 36 block is going to be like the corner of your walls. So once you've gotten that marked out, I was just going ahead and just kind of marking out the very edge of your farm. So now is a good time to decide how you want your farm to be laid out. And now the one that I've built up here is got the trenches going from north to south, as you can see on the map. Our pointer is pointing towards the north right now, and our flying machines are on the east and the west side as well. Now, it really doesn't matter how you lay this out. You could have your flying machines be on the north and south side, with your trenches running east to west. Again, it doesn't really matter, but as you're building up the walls, it's just a good time to decide where you want your flying machines to be going and how you're going to be laying out your trenches. Now, when it comes to making your walls, you need to make these out of a specific material. I would suggest glazed terracotta, and that is because we're going to be using a ton of flying machines, and these are all, of course, made out of slime blocks. So if you don't make these walls out of glazed terracotta, your flying machines won't work. You could also use leaves, but some of your strays might glitch through, and that could be problems. So I would suggest making it all out of glazed terracotta, but you do need these walls to be 4 blocks tall, and I would suggest just putting a layer of slabs on top of them as well. So now we're going to work on getting all of our trenches in place, and we're going to start off with the big center one here. This one is the biggest one because we need room for all of our flying machine kind of return stations in the center, as you can see. And that's pretty much all there is to it. So this center line of sea lanterns is of course lined up with the center block of your farm. And we're just gonna follow this to the edge over here so we can see our markers. This thing is gonna be 7 blocks wide. It's gonna be 4 blocks deep down here. We're gonna worry about all the nether portals and the water streams for these trenches later on. We're just worried about getting the main trenches in place. The top of your 4th block is gonna, of course, line up with the top of your spawning platforms here. Now, this first platform is the biggest one, and this is going to be 15 blocks wide, of course, all made out of blue ice. And then at the end of that 15 blocks, we're going to have a 2 wide trench that is, of course, 4 blocks deep as well. Moving on from that, we have a 6 block platform of blue ice, another 2 wide trench, the exact same as that one over there, and then another 6 block platform of blue ice, and our final trench, which is just a single block wide, and that should line up with the very edge of your wall. So all the trenches for your farm are perfectly symmetrical. Everything you do on this side, you also have to do on the other side as well, so just keep that in mind. And let's start installing our portals, shall we? It's more or less the same for every one of them, and you can't really mess up the portals. I like having everything symmetrical, so I've laid it out for you, but it's a little bit kind of hard to explain and a little bit confusing as well. But we're going to have the very top of our nether portal be right underneath our blue ice, and that means that the bottom of the portal is going to be a couple blocks underneath the floor of your platform here. Anyway, so it is kind of hard to explain, but you basically want this portal to be 13 blocks wide, so it's going to be 13 actual portal blocks, and then this one is going to have 10 portal blocks. The center one, which is lined up with the center of your farm, is going to have 21 portal blocks, and then it's going to be 10 portal blocks and 13 again. That's just the perfectly symmetrical way to lay it out, but you can lay it out pretty much however you want. There's no way to really mess up the portals. The only way that you can start messing things up is with the water streams. Now, because we're in a cold biome, we need some light sources down here. It's just putting these underneath your water sources. That way it doesn't prevent spawns, of course. And we want to lay these out in a very particular manner. If we lay it out just kind of, a block of water on every spot, we're going to have this kind of situation where strays will just get stuck right here. So you basically just want to make it so that your water doesn't flow perfectly to the center like that. You can lay this out in so many different ways. It doesn't really matter. But as long as your water kind of flows to the side a little bit, you'll be doing just fine. So a situation kind of like this, and you want to do that for all of these trenches on all the sides. Anyway, let's move on to the trapdoors. The trapdoors are technically optional because they are super expensive, but they do help with your efficiency. So for your back wall here, it's going to be a little bit different. And that is because we need them to be on the, side closest to the center. If we had them on the other side, your strays will be able to land right here and not go to the nether. So just make sure you put them on the correct side. And one more note about this trench is that your water sources are actually going to be located right underneath this wall. So you don't need light sources down here. They will never be able to freeze anyway. Now you do want trapdoors lining the edges of this trench and this trench as well. For your main center one, you don't want trapdoors because the way that our flying machines are going to be docking and returning right here, your skeletons could get just stuck right here. So yeah, don't put any trapdoors on your center lips. I don't think there's too much to explain with these center portals besides like the water streams. The water streams are of course centered with the center of your farm over there, and that just means that there's 3 blocks of ground going to each side, of course. So now we're going to start work on our flying machines, and we're going to end up with 4 maximum size flying machines. So 1, 2, 3, and 4 maximum size ones, and then our 5th one on the edge is going to be slightly shorter. We're going to start off with 8 slime blocks over here. So that's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Put down yourself an observer, a sticky piston, another slime block, piece of glazed terracotta, a normal piston right there. You then want a piece of obsidian behind that, a piece of glazed terracotta there as well. And then this little shape of blocks, repeater on 4 ticks, repeater on 2 ticks, repeater on 4 ticks, 2 pieces of redstone dust, another glazed terracotta in front of that thing, another sticky piston to the side of this. You then want slime blocks all around the edge, and this line of blocks right here should be 8 long. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then you want to get yourself an observer right here behind this thing. It's just like so, and a piece of obsidian right here. So now we need to get another observer facing that way, and we need a sticky piston facing downwards right above it, just like so. And then you want a solid block behind it with a slab on top, another slab right there, another one right there, and 4 more slabs right there, just to prevent some spawns. You can also put some light sources back here or something, but beware of the light seeping into the farm and preventing some spawns, of course. So once you've gotten done building one of these, you need to build 4 more just like them on this side over here. And you're basically just going to start off 1 block over so that there is no gap in between these slime blocks. They're going to be synchronized, so these things will never, touch, and they will never break each other, basically. And the final one, the 5th one, is going to be slightly shorter, but that doesn't really matter. It's just wide enough to kind of cover this edge over here. So our return stations are pretty simple. What you need to do is kind of go on the inside of your farm and go to the front of your flying machine. You want to go over by 1 to the right, and then just follow this going all the way back to the center trench right here. And then you just want to go ahead and place a piece of obsidian out here in the center and on the 2nd block up. And that should be the exact block that your flying machine kind of stops on. So we now need to place an observer right there and a normal piston right there. We then just want a solid block behind that, a block down, a block up right there, and another block just like so. Get yourself a piece of redstone dust, and then a repeater on 4 ticks right there. And just cover this entire thing in slabs. So now what you can do is go ahead and activate your flying machine. Before you do this, take off one of the blocks on the left wing. That way it doesn't, hit the other ones. And just go ahead and place back in your observer right there. That should activate your flying machine. And then it'll fly ever so slowly to your return station. And it looks like it is working perfectly fine, very fine. That'll then go back over there and it just be on its merry way. So what you want to do from here is just do that for every single one of your flying machines. You should end up with 10 return stations. And for the most part, these should be symmetrical, like how these ones are lined up with one another. But if they're not, that's perfectly fine. As long as they're all working and functional, the farm will still be really efficient. So now that you have all your flying machines and your return stations in place, we need to work on our AFK spot, and this is going to be pretty easy. It's just going to be 23 blocks up from the floor of our farm, and it's going to be centered right over the center of our farm. And then from here, you want to install an on and off switch. Now, this on and off switch is literally just going to be a redstone line that goes down, goes to both sides, and then it's going to run over all of these sticky pistons that control your observers. And when this is all powered, these will push down, and that'll basically just start activating the flying machines, infinitely sending them back and forth and back and forth. One little update I want to make is that up to this point in the tutorial, I've been pretty, fine with 28 skulls a minute. I was like, okay, that's way more than anyone needs. But I decided to test out putting a trench in between our massive 15 block platform. And that actually takes us from 28 skulls a minute up to 33, which is pretty insane. So yeah, definitely add in the extra trench so that you have 4 on either side, and that'll get you just way more skulls than you ever need. I mean, seriously, over half a stack of wither skulls a minute. It's crazy, guys. I love it, but it's also so broken. And again, thank you to Blazing King YouTube for this 2-way flying machine design. This thing is absolutely lovely as always, and you can find a link to the tutorial that he did on this and his channel in the description down below as always. If you guys did enjoy this tutorial or like the idea of the first ever beacon factory on a Bedrock edition for just 28 wither skulls a minute, then be sure to leave a like on the video. I would certainly appreciate it. If you guys are new here, consider subscribing as well. And if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, then please do let me know in the comment section down below. I'll be trying to help you out as best as I can. Make sure to read that pinned comment, and happy holidays, everyone. I'll see you in the comment section and in the next video. And then there was silence.